an anomalous object makes its first appearance, the SCP Foundation agent asks, "What is this?" The rebel from the Chaos Insurgency group thinks to himself, "How can I use this to my advantage?" An employee of the Global Occult Coalition, "How can we destroy it?" And the Serpent's Hand simply sympathizes with the object's disposition and wishes to set it free. This is primarily why these organizations operate separately and are even, in some cases, enemies. The more their fundamental approaches differ in nature, the bloodier and more violent their conflicts can become. It is true that the Foundation is responsible for creating some of its enemies. Back in 1924, the O5 Council created a group of Alpha-1 fighters known as the Insurgency. Only the O5 Council knew what its true purpose was. For everyone else, a story had been made up instead. As the legend goes, these are rebels, a breakoff from the Foundation, who rebelled against the organization. The reality was that the insurgents existed to do all the unethical work, something the Foundation could not afford to admit involvement in, of course. These are such activities as massacres, acts of terror, robberies, and etc. Generally speaking, anything that could potentially damage the reputation of the Foundation, but was at the same time necessary nonetheless. However, after 24 years of such work, the insurgents could no longer simply shrug off the role they played. During Operation Rebels in 1948, several anomalous objects were kidnapped. Furthermore, they forced some of the organization's researchers to desert and join them. That same day, they conducted several bold strikes on Foundation facilities. They also added the word chaos to their name, becoming bitter enemies of the very organization that created them. This turn of events took the members of the O5 Council by surprise more than all the anomalous objects put together. Alpha-1, from which the Chaos Insurgency was born, had exceptionally dedicated employees in its ranks. In an effort to save face, the Foundation still maintains the myth that the rebels broke away from them back in 1924. After leaving, Chaos Insurgency formulated an organizational structure akin to that of the Foundation. In place of the O5 Council, they created the Delta Command. The Gamma class comprises of military commanders and scientists who oversee the carrying out of orders issued by the Delta Command. The bulk of the work is performed by the Beta class, and the job types typically given to the D class in the Foundation are, in this case, performed by the Alpha class. The true motives of the Delta Command were kept secret from all subordinate personnel. The Research Department receives one set of instructions, and the Military Department receives its own set. Neither one has any idea of what the other has been tasked out to do. However, the officially released public policy given by the insurgents states that they intend to build a utopian future with the help of anomalies. The Serpent's Hand would most likely support this idea, but only on the condition that sentient anomalous humanoids would not suffer. As a matter of fact, there are some members of the organization that are themselves anomalous humanoid beings. So far, the Foundation has identified approximately 177 individuals who are members within the Serpent's Hand group. The leader of this organization is simply known as LS. These initials were initially discovered in a note at the site of SCP-268's disappearance. This is a tweed invisibility cap. However, it does not render a person unseen in the traditional sense. When the cap is worn, the people around begin ignoring the person. They take the presence of this person for granted, and subsequently remember practically nothing about the subject. As a result, LS could safely leave her area while wearing the cap. Although how she got there in the first place still remains a mystery. Perhaps she'd been wearing a similar headdress, as well as her companions. The second raid on the Foundation premises was in order to utilize SCP-914, which is an enormous, heavy clock-like instrument. If you place an object in it, the mechanism inside will somehow improve it. These improvements depend, however, on the different modes that can be set, such as coarse or fine. The improvements done on the rough setting are oftentimes worse off than the original. What exactly the Serpent's Hand intends to improve with this is still unknown. In connection with this, they also removed SCP-407, the Song of Genesis, which was written in an unknown language. Playing this song can lead to a large growth of living cells within earshot. Listening to the song can prove useful for the span of 1 minute. The subject will recover from any indulged diseases, save for cancer. Following this, the cell growth gets out of hand. Both people and animals become covered all over with strange growths. Bacteria and fungi also develop on them rapidly, all of which can result in death. It's allegedly for this reason that LS made a note saying that the Foundation would be grateful to her for destroying the song. And now let's take a closer look at LS. According to the unspecified information, these initials stand for Little Sister. This is how the Black Queens refer to each other. The Black Queen, or Allison Cho, exists in all dimensions. In every world, they differ from one another, have different goals and objectives, and are not always aware of the other Black Queens that exist. All these queens are the daughters of one Dr. Gears. In each universe, he appears differently. Gears might be a robot, some kind of anomalous artifact, or a person completely devoid of any emotions. In practically all dimensions, the Black Queen seeks to locate Gears in order to save and protect him. The Black Queens employ the Wanderer's Library to move between worlds. Many Black Queens gathered together here, as well as the remaining members of the Serpent's Hand. The Wanderer's Library is an extra-dimensional space. All throughout the planet are the Ways portals that lead to the Wanderer's Library. Getting there, however, is no simple task. Some kind of anomalous influence is necessary. Although the Foundation does know of the overwhelming majority of these portals, their agents are nevertheless unable to pass through them. This is not the case for the Global Occult Coalition employees. Even so, members of the GOC did not exactly remain in the library for long. Most of them were killed immediately. Only a handful were sent away unharmed by the anomalous entities there. The Serpent's Hand is just as hostile towards the Foundation, but with somewhat less hatred than the Global Occult Coalition. The Foundation has earned a certain loyalty from the Serpent's Hand due to the fact that it contains the paranormal and does not seek to destroy, unlike the Global Occult Coalition. From the Serpent's Hand perspective, anomalies are just another part of the world that must be learned, accepted, and understood by humanity. On the other hand, the Global Occult Coalition has a completely different view of things. They're convinced that anomalous objects are a threat to the human race, and therefore they must be eliminated. And if these efforts are unfruitful, then at least prevent the widespread knowledge of the anomalous, since it's necessary to protect humanity at all costs. There is a UN coalition that's partly run by this organization. The general director of the coalition is currently one DC Alfine, although the real power actually rests with the Council of 108. This body includes the leaders of the most well-known occult organizations around the globe, to include the Bavarian Illuminati, servants of the Silicon Nornir, and even the World Parahealth Organization, which combats anomalous diseases. The Council of 108 is subordinate to the High Command, which oversees and directs the following of three main divisions: Physics, which deals with the physical destruction of anomalies; Psyche, which establishes diplomatic peace if destruction is not an option; and Ptolemy, which equips and outfits all departments. The Global Occult Coalition came together following the end of the Seventh Occult War, which took place parallel with the Second World War. As a matter of fact, the Seventh Occult War was largely what set off World War II, and many of the main battles were fought specifically on an anomalous front. After both wars came to an end, the leaders of different governments created the United Nations in order to maintain peace among the people, and the Global Occult Coalition in order to maintain peace with forces of a different nature and origin. Since the government's use of anomalies in the past has always led to conflict and disasters, the Global Occult Coalition has been making efforts to suppress such activity since its inception in 1946. Having said that, governments do not necessarily always abide by this rule. And so, there was the McCarthy-Truman UFO scandal of 1951. The Americans wanted to use paranormal technology for military purposes. The coalition succeeded in stopping them, but tensions between the US and the coalition increased significantly thereafter. Any kind of contact with another organization, namely when involving anomalies, has specific protocols to it. The most stringent procedures are set in relation to the Serpent's Hand, since the coalition views them as terrorists. Every encounter with the Serpent's Hand has always led to heavy losses on the GOC side. Sometimes this was individual employees, but other times it was entire divisions and cells that were wiped out. Because of this, all coalition agents have standing orders to immediately eliminate any members of the Serpent's Hand upon first contact. However, the coalition is less hostile towards the Chaos Insurgency. Additionally, the GOC management is still unsure of whether or not the insurgents are a separate organization, or whether they're still under the cover of the Foundation. Insurgency agents are regarded as a threat, but response to them is minimal. If insurgency activity is perceived as excessive, protocol states it must be suppressed, and all anomalous and military equipment is to be confiscated. Interestingly, one of the largest raids on the insurgency was actually carried out by the coalition solely for political reasons. During this operation, the GOC displayed a certain level of hypocrisy. By way of magic, they teleported the Broken Dagger battle group from Ireland all the way to England, where the Chaos Insurgency training camp was located. There, coalition officials watched the rebels and had no plans to intervene. That is, at least until they saw captive Philip Anderson brought there. Anderson's a senior official from the Mana Charitable Foundation, an anomalous humanitarian aid organization. It's not that the coalition necessarily cares about Anderson's fate, but his rescue would help provide leverage in future negotiations. Also, the inclusion of Mana in the coalition would provide them with additional financing. Broken Dagger shot several insurgency members, set off a couple of bombs, and freed both Anderson and his talking sea slug, Lord Blackwood. Although the rebels attempted to stop the GOC fighters, no retaliatory measures were taken later, mostly due to the disproportionate balance of the two forces. In every other case, the coalition simply monitors the insurgency's actions to ensure nothing else takes place. The most supportive group towards the Foundation would probably be the coalition. This is true despite the fact that this organization is technically considered hostile as well, and their desire to place the anomalies in containment is seen as unethical to the coalition. Attacking Foundation employees is allowed only with the permission of High Command on a very rare, case-by-case basis. Such incidents tend to occur when the Coalition and the Foundation discover a new anomaly right at the same time. In such cases, the GOC's mission is to eliminate the anomalous object preemptively before the Foundation is able to detain it and put it in containment. The Foundation itself, out of all the organizations, has the greatest dislike for the Chaos Insurgency, and this is understandable, since no one really likes traitors. On the other hand, one of their operations was of such a nature that even some members of the O5 Council admired the way it was executed. The insurgents managed to lead the Foundation around in circles for some time using SCP-884-4. This object is an anomalous shaving mirror. The person who uses it will continually see stubble on his face, and so he shaves over and over again until he ends up injuring himself. However, those who worked with it at the Foundation were unaware that the mirror also causes pathological doubts over the long term. The insurgents, on the other hand, were well aware of this. Thus, they intentionally sparked curiosity and interest around the mirror. The insurgents stole the object and then allowed the Foundation to find it again. Curious employees then lined up at this legendary mirror. Many of these individuals later perished due to the simple fact that they were unable to make a decision at some crucial moment. For example, one of the researchers drowned in the bathroom, all because he could not make up his mind to get out of it and took too long in doing so. Personally, I believe the insurgents, the Coalition, and the Serpent's Hand have all interfered in the Foundation's business much more than the Foundation itself is aware of. I would assume that with the cap of invisibility, the Serpent's Hand could have theoretically liberated all sentient anomalies a long time ago already. However, they did not do this for one reason and one reason only. The Black Queens hold the belief that within the walls of the Foundation, the anomalies will be safer for a while. After all, while the GOC agents have learned how to penetrate the Wanderer's library, they refrain from invading the walls of the Foundation as much. Therefore, the Serpent's Hand regards the imprisonment of humanoids as a temporary trial. Once they succeed in eliminating the Global Occult Coalition, their next target will be the Foundation. And so it turns out that the mere existence of the Coalition is actually beneficial to the Foundation, since it protects them from more aggressive attacks on the part of the Hand. I also think that this hypothesis is rather easy to test. If rumors were to be spread in the anomalous world that the Foundation intends to execute some sentient humanoid, it would most likely disappear from within the walls of the Foundation that very same day, and both the Black Queen and the Serpent's Hand would definitely have been involved. The Global Occult Coalition, in my opinion, is secretly penetrating the organization in order to frame individual senior staff members. After all, the more internal conflicts that exist, the more the Foundation will weaken. That's all for today, and so I'll take my leave. If you'd like more releases on related organizations, let me know in the comments below, and give this video a like.